Well, hi, Memorial family. My reflective mood from last week continues. I've been thinking about the challenges of staying connected in these seemingly endless pandemic days. Young people will be telling their grandchildren about 2020 in years to come. And so, in my reflections, my thoughts turn to the lives of my own grandparents and parents. They lived in times before any of the modern communications we take for granted and have at our disposal. They lived in times before this. All four of my grandparents were immigrants who arrived in America at around 1900. They left family and friends behind to start new lives, and only one of them, my maternal grandfather, spoke English. How did they maintain connections with those they left behind? I know they did because as a teenager, I remember visiting a plethora of my father's relatives in Italy, a cousin in Genoa, cousins in Rome, and aunts in Florence. Those connections stayed strong because they wrote letters. Unable to Zoom, FaceTime, or just telephone, letters were the only means of maintaining loving connections with friends and family. Similarly, my parents, members of the so-called greatest generation, were separated by war. Telegrams and very expensive telephone calls were available, but like their parents, maintaining connections with family and friends was mostly via letters. And so it is because of letters that so much of our history, wonderful books, and family treasures exist. One of my pastor friends discovered his parents' love letters, and he learned so much about what they thought and what they believed through reading those treasured letters. And so with these reflections in mind, I thought about our current situation. We have so many more means at our disposal to communicate face to face via computer applications. Email only takes seconds, not weeks to transmit, and phone calls are inexpensive in comparison to only a generation ago. But what legacy do any of these means of communication leave to future generations? So I'm issuing a challenge to the Memorial family. It's a challenge I am hoping will be meaningful, not only for you, but also for many others. It's a challenge I'm going to do for myself too. So what if we all write at least one letter to someone, a family member or a friend, and share in our letter what this time has been like for us? We can ask whoever our recipient might be to save the letter and pass it on to a child or children. I promise this exercise will be cathartic. Expressing our anguish, our pain, our anxiety, our worries, as well as the silver linings we've discovered during this cloudy time, will be an emotional release for us. But your letter can also be a legacy for someone in the future to read about how you faced one of the most significant challenges of our time. It's also an opportunity to share your faith. I know for me, this time has strengthened and grown my faith. How about you? Let's remember, too, that the majority of the New Testament is a compilation of letters written to educate, encourage, edify, and strengthen the faith of others in the first century of the Christian church. Would we have such a treasure if the writers of the New Testament only communicated via telephone, email, or Zoom? I think not. So go get some exquisite stationery, get out your pen, give some thought to what you want to say, and commit your words to paper for your family member or friend and for future generations to read. I promise you this, whoever gets your letter will be delighted. And ask them in your letter not to call or email you in response, but to write you a letter instead. That way, you too will have something to savor and pass on. Perhaps in the process, your faith and the faith of others will be nourished, and so will your relationship with your letter's recipient. I'm going to begin my letter with Paul's words in his letter to the Philippians. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you.